Guys got it? All right, hard work on three, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hard work.
Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there, get there, get there, get there.
You touched on it last week, but since we're in a different building now, one of the things I've been talking about a lot today is the 20-game conference schedule. And just if I could ask you one more time, how do you think that'll impact you guys, and especially where you don't necessarily have a lot of tune-up games? You guys start right off the bat in November.
Yeah, I'm excited for our conference that we have the opportunity to play 20 games. I would be lying to you if I wouldn't tell you it's tough. You're replacing 2 tune-up games in November for 2 legitimate ACC opponents, and I like where we at. I like our schedule. It's a tough schedule when you think that we got to play Duke home and home, Carolina home and home, and got to go to Virginia, and that's nothing against the rest of the ACC because it's tough all the way over. But I always say this. I can deal with anything when it comes to our schedule as long as everybody else is doing the same thing. And last time I checked, everybody else is playing 20 games also, so I'm okay with that.
If I remember correctly, last season you had 3 players return with significant minutes, and this year I think you just set up there with 7. Just talk about how impactful is that, not only establishing a base chemistry for the season itself and also maintaining the culture that you're wanting to build?
Well, it's tough. Last year it was tough because we only had 3 guys that played in the game. Of course, we had some guys who set out and were transferred and were able to practice with us, but having a chance to have some experience really in this game, some guards back, means a lot to me. When you talk about Markeo, you talk about Braxton and C.J. Bryce and even Devin Daniels, who's had about a good week of practice. I think that helps. Guys like Jericho Helms, who was a freshman, it was good just to have a guy that returns as a sophomore that you can kind of build on. And we're excited. Our 8th guy will be Manny Bates, and just to be able to put him back on the floor, I think that's really good. And then add in a couple 5th-year guys with Pat Andrews and Danny Dixon. I like our group. I like where we're at right now. I think we had the right mentality so far heading into our season.
But you said you like where your program is. What is it like to be in a conference where basically the standard is measured by Final Fours and national championships?
Yeah, I knew what I was getting when I signed up, and I'm excited to be the coach at NC State, and I like a program. I like our fan base. I tell everybody we've got the most passionate fan base in the country because they have high expectations, and so do I. I don't think you take any of these programs in the ACC if you don't have aspirations of winning the national championship, and certainly we don't shy away from it. Obviously I've had to take over a program that we've kind of had to rebuild and continue to rebuild, but I think we're moving towards rebuilding.
Kevin, with all the all-ACC players gone and turnover in the league, guys who turn pro, does it feel like maybe the gap between the pack and sort of the Virginias, North Carolinas is smaller this year, maybe?
Yeah, Luke, I don't know that it's smaller. I mean, it's crazy. Even though we don't have the Zion Williamsons of the world, it's still the ACC. And so at the end of the day, I guarantee you probably at the end when there is a draft again, you're going to see the same amount of guys probably drafted, maybe not 1, 2, or 3. Is the gap closing? I don't know that. Duke's going to still be good, and the ones who are at the top are going to still be good. They'll still be picked high. I like my program. I think we're moving in the right direction. That's more a question for those guys to see how they feel. But if we could close the gap, we would certainly love to do that.
Coach, the California law that was passed that would allow name, image, and likeness to players to benefit from, it's very complex. There is no real final answer. Do you see any danger in how it would affect the team's chemistry or camaraderie if this guy's getting this much or that much?
Yeah, I don't. It's a small sample size. So let's say you took NC State, for example, and I don't know the real answer to this, but at the end of the day, how many guys could capitalize off my team this year? I'm not saying that it could be 4. I'm not saying it could be 1. I think we're talking about a small sample size of guys. I said this last week. I believe I've always been intrigued by the Olympic model, where once you reach some level of celebrity, you could be sponsored. I think it's something that we need to consider and look at. I would be completely in favor of it right now. Obviously, what I would love to do is get more information and then somebody to lay out a detailed plan on how it will happen.
No one has one.
Yeah, and I think it will. I think it will happen, but until somebody lays out a plan, I think there'll be more questions and answers. But as far as where I stand, I like where we're going with it.
Coach Keatts, while your philosophy is to get the ball up court quickly, we all know that. But say you go up against a set defense, what is the thought then? Do you want them to work for the first available shot or the best available
Yeah, that's
shot?
a good question. We like to play fast, but I like good shots. And so that being said, I'll give you an example. One of the best defensive half-court teams in the country is Virginia. I think you make a mistake when you take bad shots against those guys because you feed into it. And so to answer your question, I love to take great shots. Just because we want to play fast, I encourage not taking bad shots.
So be sure it's a good one before you take it.
Yeah,
That's what you teach.
Be sure that's a good one, or you're probably going to be sitting beside me.
All right.
Do you feel like you guys are an upper echelon team in the league?
I feel like that we're a team that's coming off of 21 and 24 wins and some guys that's returning that, this league is so tough because, at any point you could have your best team that you've ever had and be just okay. Or you can have a team that nobody expects to win. Example, our first year we were picked 12th and we become an NCAA tournament team, finishing in the top 3, 4, 5 when you look at that. So it's just so tough to try to figure out, because the league on any given night, you can win a game or you can lose a game.
I don't think you've given your preseason prognostication. How do you see the ACC shaping up?
Man, I don't know. I look around and there's so many good players that's gone, but I look around in recruiting. I think a lot of people have done a tremendous job in recruiting. All I can tell you is I like my team. I like the pieces that we have. I feel good about it. I think in any league, in order to win, you win with guard play, and I think we got some pretty good guards.
When you see the list of top returning players in the ACC or top point guards nationally, do you feel like Markel isn't getting quite the amount of attention that he deserves?
Well,
or do you even care?
I wouldn't say, JC, that he's not getting the attention that he deserves. I think what will help Markel is if he's consistent playing two halves. Right now, I could tell you now, he's probably one of the best point guards in the country for a half. And that's no knock on him, but we're trying to get him to be able to play an entire game. And, as a sophomore, he led the league in assists. And then as a junior, we asked him to score. And so now going into a senior year, I need him to do both.
Coach, you were at UNCW with CJ, and CJ came over here. How have you kind of seen the transformation of CJ Bryce through all the moves and kind of the development of him, not only as a player but as a person?
Well, he's developed both mentally and physically, both on and off the court. His body is totally changed. Pat Murphy, our strength coach, has done a tremendous job along with CJ in changing that. But he's a veteran guy, knows how to play. He understands my system. I think he's becoming more of a leader than he was at UNC Wilmington when he was a young kid.
Yeah, thank you.
What have you seen from some of the new names that we've, Pat, obviously, what he can do, but also, names like Mandy that we haven't been able to see yet?
Well, Pat, I'll make this prediction, but I'll lose it because I always do. Prime time with the Pack, I'm going to make Pat and Braxton Beverly have a shootout. I think Pat's a better shooter than Braxton Beverly. Braxton's not going to like that, which means Braxton's going to make more threes. Which if that works as a coach, I think that'll be great. Pat's a little different. We've got to replace Torin Dorn, who is our leading rebounder and leading scorer. And I think both Jericho Helms and also Pat Andrews gives us different looks. Jericho's more of a slasher rebounder, and Pat's a better shooter from outside. That being said, I think Danny Dixon's going to be really good for us. He'll put a lot of people in mind of Wyatt Walker, very similar player than Wyatt. Wyatt was very important for us last year and, did all the dirty work and took charges and rebounded the basketball. So I like him. And the guy that we don't spend a lot of time talking about, if I can keep him healthy, I think Manny Bates has a chance to be really good.
You mentioned Wyatt's man bun the other day. What's an update on Braxton's beard?
That beard is an ongoing thing with he and I. And as long as he's making shots, then that beard is a good beard. But if he decides to miss some shots, we'd have a conversation about what we need to do with his beard.
It's a little more neatly trimmed though this year. It's not the mountain man look.
Well, and I'll tell you this: if Braxton Beverly can find a way to shoot 45% from the three, I may grow a beard. I may have one.
Is that the rule? Is that the challenge?
Yeah, we'll make it today. If Braxton Beverly can shoot 45% leading in the ACC, there's a chance I may grow a beard. No, maybe not a beard. I'll say Joe a goatee. I'll go with the goatee. Yeah.
And one of the things that's always been key for us is maybe keeping his legs fresh throughout the season. How do you kind of see his role in terms of what he'll do point guard wise, what he'll do off the ball wise?
Yeah, I think he missed a lot of shots, JC, when I go back and look at it. I thought Braxton, and I know this is going to sound crazy, I thought he took really bad shots. And what I mean by that is he didn't take challenge shots, he took long threes. Well, the line is long enough by itself. I was looking at on my way over here, I was looking at one of our games, and I can't remember which game it was, but he took a three way beyond the three-point line. And so I know he's got range, but we're going to have to reel that in a little bit if he's not making those shots.
I know you like to get up and down the court and use a smaller lineup, but you've got some bigs this year. Do you anticipate playing more two bigs this year than you have?
I don't know if we'll play two bigs at a time, but I do have the luxury of playing guards, a small, guard lineup with a big inside. I do have the ability to play a little bit bigger guy at the 4, and that may happen. When you look at Pat Andrews, he's 6'8". And so that does give us a little bit of size, even though he plays more as a guard than anything.
And that having been said, do you have an update on DJ?
I don't. I've said last week that, DJ has to be a part of this program. It's a privilege to be a part of the program, not a right. We've given him some benchmarks that I think he needs to meet in order to be a part of this program. And certainly I hope it happens because he can help our program. But if it doesn't, then obviously give somebody else another opportunity.
He's not going to help you this year, but have you ever been part of a recruitment as unusual as Thomas Allen?
Well, that's funny. Guys that don't know about Thomas, so Thomas signed with the previous staff. He decides to go to Nebraska, and then he came back home. I haven't, but Thomas is going to be a good player for us. I'm excited that he's back. He's a guy that can play some 2 and 1 for us, can shoot the ball. But to answer your question, JC, I haven't, and I don't want many more of them. This door usually doesn't swing back open and let guys back in, but because Thomas was a great kid, and I felt like he was confused when we took the job, and certainly we invited him back.
Was that more of a, not so much evaluating him as a player, but whether you two should mesh together?
Yeah, no, I've always known him to be a great kid. I just think the kid was confused. He signs with the school. You get a new coach, just like many kids do, and he decided to go somewhere else. And then, obviously, sometimes you realize that the grass not green on the other side. Somebody got to water that grass, and there he's back.
And then you did have a transfer that is eligible this year in A.J. Taylor.
Yeah.
How hard is it, though, to go from junior college in Mississippi to ACC?
I don't know that it's hard to go to any college from prep school and junior college. I think A.J. is going to be a very good basketball player for us. Obviously, it's going to take a little time, but certainly we hope he can give us some this year to be able to help us.
You've had really good success with transfers. What is the secret? Is it just a matter of vetting to make sure you get the right kids that fit your situation, or how have you been so successful with that?
Well, it's a little bit of both. We've had some transfers that have been great for us. When you talk about Al Freeman and Sam Hunn, and then go back to the guys from last year, we've had a couple of them that didn't work out, which is very unfortunate. But I'm a guy that because of my years at Hargrave, it may not take me as much time as other guys to blend guys in, and I think that's helped me be able to help with some of these transfers that come in.
You weren't 100% at this time last year. Is the pickup games, have they resumed?
Pickup games have resumed, but they haven't resumed for me. I'm never playing pickup again. I'm a spot shooter, only in a drill. I had to demonstrate. But as far as my pickup days, you can cancel that.
Can we get you in that shooting contest with Braxton and Pat?
Yeah, I don't think those guys want to shoot with me. I'm better shooter than all 3 of those guys. I'm just telling you now, I'm probably the best shooter in the program, and that's including Sam Hunt's a graduate manager. It's only 4 guys that can be in the game. If we had a shooting contest, that would be myself, of course, Braxton, Pat, and probably Sam. Takeo Sill's not a good shooter as he thinks he is. So is Craig Ponder's not really good. But those 4 guys, and listen, I'll give one. The best game shooter that we have, based on last year, was Markel Johnson. So we'll put him in there.
Maybe had the best percentage last year?
Who's that?
Danny Dixon.
Yeah.
Except he only did over like 8 games.
Yeah. We're not counting.
You see any pick and pop?
We're definitely not counting on Danny Dixon in that trade for.
So do you use last year not getting in the tournament as motivation, or do you just flush it and say, you know what, history, let's just go and do this year?
Yeah, I don't think kids look at things the way we do as adults. It may take us months to get over it. A week later, they're over it. We talk about it. Just when I say talk about it, just a small amount of time, but we don't dwell on it. It's nothing that's going to look. Every team is separate from each other. This ACC is totally different than last year. We're going to 20 games, and so we've got to prepare. Just like we went last year.
What was it like sitting in there with the guys on Selection Sunday and watching each of the brackets come out and start filling things up, and you're not in there? What was that? And then when it was all over, realizing that you guys weren't in,
we were disappointed, and really were disappointed because we felt like that we had done enough to be able to be in the tournament. That being said, I wouldn't give up my experience in the NIT. Playing 3 games in the legendary Reynolds Coliseum was a great thing for us. And for most teams that went to the NCAA, if they lost in the first or second round, they still didn't get the experience that we had playing 3 games in there. So if there's a positive about it, that is.
You've changed your schedule up as a result, probably. Memphis, is one of the headlining games. Was a part of you like this spring, like slow down Penny? You don't have to add every recruit in the country.
Well, they're one of our games, as you said, is Memphis, and they're good. Penny said, I think about a week ago, he thinks his team has a chance to compete for a national championship, and he's probably right. They're a really good team. That being said, we didn't change our schedule much. We hope to win every game on our non-conference, but I'll be rooting for those guys to win every game that they play other than us. We need those guys to play well. We need championship. I thought a non-conference was very challenging. When you look at Auburn, they went on obviously to make the Final Four. We won that game by 11. Wisconsin was a great game on the road. Vanderbilt, which had obviously one of the best recruiting classes similar to Memphis, they got some people hurt. So we're moved on. I like our schedule now. I realize now that, we in order to go, you got to win a lot of games and try to win a lot of games in the non-conference as you do in the ACC.
You've made North Carolina kind of a priority, especially like with recruiting and everything. Been able to land some guys all throughout the state and everything. What have you been kind of able to tell them or talk to them about, just as a program-wise, to show that you are up there with Duke, Carolina, all of them, and that you're a premier place to go to?
Yeah, we don't. As funny as that sounds, we don't try to compare ourselves to any program in the ACC, including Duke and Carolina, who's got tremendous, tremendous programs. They got, they've done a lot of great things over there, and they won championships. But I don't try to do that. I try to be the best version of NC State. We recruit as NC State. I like the in-state kids. I think it's important that if you take care of home, then certainly we've got enough players in our state that can, eventually win a championship, and I like that part about it.
You feel like you're, last year you guys had a lot of transfers, a lot of younger guys. Do you feel like from a chemistry standpoint you're ahead of where you were this time last year?
Yeah, I don't know if we're ahead. It's tough to tell. And the reason being is because we got so many veterans. We're smarter. I would say that because we've got some older guys. But that being said, I'm still counting on new guys to play. I need Danny Dixon to be able to play. I need Pat Andrews to play. I need the other, Atticus Taylor and, obviously our one freshman. We need those guys to have the opportunity to play. So I'm not sure if we're far ahead. I do like the fact that for the first time I've got somebody else, especially those 2 guys over there, helping me teach the young guys.
Guys got it? So hard work on 3, sprint to the next spot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Sprint to the next spot. Don't walk. Get there.